JodiAsmr does resin, and I read scary stories. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you all for coming and joining me so much. You have no idea. It means the world to me that you are here listening and watching me create resin. Today is going to be a very special day. It is about Ouija board experiences, true, terrifying experiences. So if you like this kind of whispered content, please hit the thumbs up button. And if you would be so kind as to subscribe to the channel, please do so at this moment. It really helps the channel grow so I can keep reading scary stories and doing resin with you all. I hope you like the new microphone, and I hope it's a little bit louder and more crisp than the last. So this is what we made yesterday as well, and it is quite beautiful. You can see right there the second pour was inside, and there's a ledge in there. It's quite unique. So we are just gonna get into the creepy stories because I feel that is the best, most exciting way to do this. The first time I used a Ouija board, I was 8 years old. I used it with my brother, sister in my backyard. My parents both refused to use it inside the house. We decided to go against their wishes and use it in the yard. At that time, we had 2 German shepherds who were in the yard with us. We asked the board if anyone was there. After quite a while, it went to yes. The second thing that happened, both dogs went nuts, running in circles, barking at the board. We proceeded to ask its name. It spelled out Vanessa. We then asked it if they were there to harm us, and it said no, of course not. After asking a few more random questions, I asked it if it was lying to us about not wanting to harm us, and then it went to yes. After asking a few more random questions, I asked it again, and the answer was still yes. We were so scared, we never even closed the game at that time. My sister was 5 years old, and my brother was 3 years old. They were so scared they ran inside, flipping out. I wasn't scared. Sat at the board. I felt a dreadful feeling come over me, but did not feel anything but dread. I couldn't move. My parents, knowing what was going on and seeing my brothers and sisters act that way, hid the board from us for almost 9 years because of how scared everyone was. But ever since then, bad things in the house started to happen, especially when I was alone. But they would only happen to me. So flash forward to 8 years. My friends and I decided to use a Ouija board because we were lonely or bored or just stupid. My hometown, a place called Squire and I went and decided to use the board at the castle during the day. We asked if anyone was there, and the planchette started forming figure eights. Started frantically going from Z to O, over and over again. We immediately closed the board, but you have now invited a Zozo in, the notorious demon. We looked up immediately what Zozo meant, and it is a demon, one of the most famous demons for being attached to the Ouija board. I personally thought it was my friends messing with me, but once again, more weird stuff started happening to me when I was alone. This got so bad I had to give the board to a friend who wanted it from me. Then we get to last night. My roommate and I decided to buy a new Ouija board and use it. Our other roommate was not interested and decided to stay in our bedroom instead of the living room, where we used the board. We shut off all the lights, lit a large white candle and 2 small orange candles, put different crystals around the board. The roommate and I decided to use the board with is extremely spiritual. We even did a protection spell before using the board. But the problem is that you have used the board 2 other times, and you can't really get rid of Zozo. That is not a type of demon who leaves by just you saying goodbye. You know, when you close a Ouija board, the spirit has to allow you to leave. And so, the planchette started moving after I stupidly decided if the spirit that we were talking to was a negative spirit. We asked a silly question after that, which of our kittens is liked more, and it spelled out Opal, which is my cat's name. We then closed the board because I wanted to get water, and my roommate looked extremely uneasy. I asked her if she felt uncomfortable. She said yes, which was a little unsettling considering I did too. We decided to continue with the board after cleaning our minds, clearing our souls, and smudging. It's not gonna help. We then asked if anybody was there. To no avail, nothing worked. My friend spoke up finally. Are you content with where you are? And it said no. Then she said if it could spell its name. It said no again. Then I asked if it could please spell its name, and it immediately went from Z to O. So faster and faster each time it moved. My roommate said I turned pale white, as if I was going to pass out. We immediately closed the board, and all the candle flames were going crazy, and at the same time they extinguished at once, leaving us in the pitch black. My roommate got up and turned on the light. We were both freaked out. We decided to tell the other roommate nothing bad happened because I didn't want to scare her. The second I walked into our bedroom and said nothing had happened, the shaving cream on the counter in our shower flew across the room. I looked at her, just trying to play it off as if it was nothing. My roommate was not buying it. We woke up at 3 a.m., 6 a.m., extremely uneasy feeling was over us. I had vivid also have to put the work and grow spiritually. Finally, please do not challenge it, for this may anger the entity and increase its activity on you. Looking for guidance. I don't really know how to start this, so I'll jump right into my story. When I was a child, around 11 years old, I had a friend who got me into paganism before I knew what it actually was. We would go online, search up things, and call ourselves witches. I was a child who was born dead and blue. I considered myself an indigo child. Very spiritual and have had a lot of paranormal encounters growing up. I had a lot of exposure to death as a child as well. Naive as I was, this friend and I made our own Ouija board. Just after I had lost my best friend in a house fire along with a few others, I had been doing seances to know their spirit was with us. I was extremely heartbroken and in a dark place. But one day I asked the board foolishly when I would die. The numbers were 3 and 4. I guessed 34 or 43. I'm currently 31. My health has recently turned bad. I had such a promising future. I obtained a master's degree to become a licensed therapist. However, the other day I found out I have liver disease, and the median age of living with liver disease is 12. 31 plus 12 equals 43. 43. So now here I am looking for guidance. I want to have a child, but the board has already predicted my death, and I don't think I will live long enough to see my baby grow up if I do. Scary first Ouija board experience. So, this past summer, my friend and I were on a spooky kick, scary movies, sleepover games, midnight, quote-unquote, rituals. Just a bunch of stuff to freak us out, nothing that we thought was gonna harm us. The ending of this kick was, of course, to play with a Ouija board. We bought it, then went over to her friend's house because she was house sitting, and the house was completely empty. We arrived, looked up the rules, lit candles, and followed everything the internet said to do. At first, we weren't getting anything. We were both wishful thinking, I think, and were subconsciously moving it at first. It was going really slow and not making any sense. So I looked up what to do if nothing was working. The internet said to take a break and come back. So that's what we did. We came back, and as soon as we did, the board started answering our questions. I'm a former self-harmer and have a suicidal past and things of that nature. The first thing that alarmed me was that it said there were 13 entities in the room with us. Oh my god. I asked how many were bad, and the board said 12 were bad. That's a terrifying number. The second thing was that it spelled out my last name. I kept asking what about it, and finally it answered that they liked me. I asked why, and it responded with, "You bleed," which I instantly knew exactly what they were talking about. details about what happened. We stopped then because neither of us could handle it anymore. We threw the board away in a McDonald's dumpster and tried to think about it. About 2 weeks later, the board was back and in my friend's mom's back seat. No idea how it got there. My friend knew nothing of it and how it got there, and her mom didn't even know we were using it, which we were in huge trouble for. Now this was all after 2 weeks after we threw it away. Now I was constantly feeling watched. This deep, heavy feeling walking around in my house constantly. I would hear noises all of the time. One time my phone glitched and the distorted voice on the other line came over, freaking me out, and then immediately shut off. A bang went off by my face one night that sounded like someone punching the wall as hard as they could. Hearing noises in the cupboard, opening it to find cups and bowls flipped over completely on their sides, all without being touched. All of this went away eventually. I rarely feel things anymore, although sometimes that heavy feeling does come back. Dang. Oof. My last experience with the Ouija board. My sister owns a Ouija board and we play together very often. The last experience I had, I believe we may have ended up conjuring up So-So. He came in the form of a dead Italian. I actually can't recall which mafia it had been from, but I believe it was Italian. Mafia boss. He told us his tale of how he died before proceeding to ask to help find his hidden body. The spirit had told us that a member of the Russian mafia, a young male, which he gave us the name. I also can't entirely remember, so please forgive me. Before then, proceeding to ask us, 2 young females that live in the U.S. way away from Russia to go track down this young male and figure out where his body was. Obviously, we couldn't do that. We felt for him as we apologized sincerely. It simply wasn't possible. The mafia boss didn't quite seem to like this. After telling us to fuck off and go to hell, the board again, making So-So signature figure 8 on the board. We both began saying goodbye while trying to guide the planchette to goodbye. The spirit wasn't having that and it pulled back. It simply would not allow us to say goodbye. Remember what I said, it has to let you leave. An invisible force was pushing our hands down. Finally, when I had had enough, I mustered up what I could and forced it to goodbye. Safe to say that was the last session for the night. I'm not willing to allow him into my house. I don't know if you have a choice anymore. I really don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She responded, yes. Okay. Then the Ouija board seemed weird, like Gwen got scared or overpowered because the board started spelling Zozo and started counting backwards. This is giving me chills. We quickly said goodbye, moved the planet to goodbye. About 2 weeks later, I was driving to my friend's house. It was a girl I was seeing at the time, and she was cheating and using me. I didn't know this when I was driving, though. I guess Gwen knew because she seemed mad, protecting and jealous when my friend and I mentioned this girl's name for the first time when we used the Ouija board. On the way to her house, I hydroplaned and flipped up my truck. I have to add, the Ouija board is also in the truck with me. Some people driving down the road stopped to help get the door open. I climbed up and out. When the cops arrived, they made sure I was okay and said they had to write me a ticket because of the accident. I don't have the ticket anymore because this happened 4 years ago, but the address site of the accident was Route 666, Virginia. I am gonna go mix up some resin now, and we will be back with truly terrifying Ouija board encounters. Okay, well, here we are, back with the more scary Ouija board, terrifying Ouija board experiences. In our house, I had a scary Ouija board experience in the woods of Norway. We made our own homemade Ouija board, which I believe to be more terrifying. Yesterday, myself and another person tried Ouija board. We talked to a Norwegian family named BGM and talked about certain things, seemingly truly like a good ghost family. Said that they were probably other ghosts here, and when I said that they were other ghosts here, said that they were pretty nice, and asked if we had ever talked to others. It said the letters I, which we asked if it ever talked. It said the letters I and J, which is a Norwegian word saying not me. Well, that's freaky. In English, next day I try alone and contact her using Ouija board with the Ouija board, and someone answered, but didn't seem like the same ghost I was speaking with. When I asked about the name, the letters FG. When I asked the game if they were here yesterday, it said yes. Okay, but were you the person I was talking to? No. The lights turned on and off in this room. It went to the letter R, E, then back to E again. I don't know, it was acting weird. I just decided to say goodbye and went towards goodbye, but stopped at the numbers. For some reason, I decided to drag it down to goodbye and said goodbye, but then I could not pick the glass off the Ouija board. I could feel something holding it down. not going to enjoy in your house. Help. I think there's a strange coincidence, or my great-grandmother passed away at 98 last Monday, the 25th, after her celebration of life. My aunt, 30 years old, and I'm a 22-year-old female. We're going through grandmother's memory box. We found a very old planchet in her jewelry with the glasses in the middle cracked and a section missing. Great-grandma was very religious. I cannot imagine her using a Ouija board, which is very odd in itself. We have not found the board, just the planchet. Within 2 hours or so, I left her home. My right hand was flaming hot, and I noticed 3 cuts on my wrists facing each other in a triangle. The first and only thing I could think about was the planchet. I went to my grandmother's last night just to see, and the cuts on my wrist are in fact the exact same size and shape of the planchet. Oh my god, does this mean anything? Do you think it's a coincidence? What should I do with the planchet? Or is this someone I should contact for this? I think you're over your head. Personally, if you've never dealt with, I think you need somebody who is more versed in this type of thing. I would definitely have somebody who has this kind of spiritual experience check this out. This is not a good ghost or good spirit that you were talking with, or that your grandmother was talking with. Whether you thought she was religious or not, it does not matter. People have secrets, and maybe she was very religious because of this planchet. Maybe she had a bad experience as a child. You do not know. So just remember that when you're messing around with things like this. Don't touch stuff like this. That stuff can be very powerful, you know. It could definitely have been a conduit of some kind. The fact that you have the same size and shape of the planchet scratched onto your wrist is a little disconcerting. Disconcerting to me. I'll be right back. Ouija board stories that prove it's not fake. I have a long interest in the paranormal, but very few actual personal experiences. I'm eager, probably pretty credulous as a result. I still haven't seen or experienced much except for the time as a kid when I actually went looking for it with a Ouija board. I think I started experimenting with a Ouija board in my early teens. I didn't have my own, but a friend had one. Just the regular board game type. Nothing fancy, nothing weird or old. I really don't remember what exactly we came across, but we tried to use it. And it did seem like it would move without either of us pushing around. was Maria and I are the ones with our hands on the board. Let's use our hands and cover each other's eyes so that nobody can peek. I asked my younger sister to go into another room and find something small enough that she could hide it in her hand, then bring it into the living room where we were. So she did. I asked her to open her hand and hold it up while Maria and I were still covering each other's eyes. Then to close her hand and hide it behind her back. She did all that was asked. Then Maria and I uncovered each other's eyes, put our hands back on the planchette. We asked the board what it was my sister held up in her hand. It quickly spelled out earrings. My sister opened her hand, and that's exactly what it was. We had all kinds of stuff in our house. It could have been anything, right? A coin, candy, a small toy, a screw, or a paper clip, or whatever. Earring wouldn't have been in my first guess, that's for sure. The experiment was my idea, and I came up with it on the spot, so it's not as if my sister Maria had a chance to play a joke on me. The second incident that happened when I was a little bit older. I was playing with some high school friends at one of their houses. One of the guys in the room didn't want to touch the board. Since he wasn't touching it, we decided we would ask some stuff about him and see if it was accurate. Obviously, he couldn't move the planchette about himself. With his permission, we asked if we could speak to his mother, and she had passed on when he was young. We all knew that he had an unusual middle name. We could say it, but I don't think anyone had any idea how to spell it. It was a unique African name. I've never heard it before or since. The board spelled his name exactly right, according to him. We also asked how his mom passed. He knew, but it wasn't common knowledge, and he gave the answer, resting. Apparently she died suddenly while sleeping on a couch. There was more to the story, but I don't know if I remember it correctly. I got out of the habit of messing with the Ouija board. These incidents were uncanny, but not exactly scary, if any. Scary was the time the board would start spelling out anger and sarcastic things, cursing at us. So I just thought I would pass this information on, that it's not just a board. There is something else, something more sinister, positive, but whatever it is not just you moving the board, the planchette around the board. My advice is, don't mess with the Ouija board. You don't want somebody in your household to get possessed. I think I lost a friend because he thinks I was moving the planchette. My friend has never been successful using the Ouija board, but he always knew I am a spirit magnet and have been haunted my whole entire life. So when we used the Ouija board together, I noticed immediately I felt like he was legitimately pulling on the planchette and pushing it around. I can't explain it, but I don't know, it just felt like it was sliding out from beneath my fingers. Strong sensation during the Ouija session, talking with a spirit who claims to follow me and has most of my life. The spirit got super angry and said he's going to end the session. Then my friend was pissed because he said I was moving the planchette. He went home, messaged me all of this, and now we are fighting over this planchette pushing it. This is stupid because I literally barely was touching the thing. I mean, fingers like feathers. I felt it pushing and sliding away from me right beneath my fingers. I had to raise my elbow to catch myself from losing touch of it. How is a Ouija planchette supposed to feel? I'm never doing the Ouija with him again. It doesn't help that he's demonic and worships evil people. I contacted Zozo. What do I do? You don't ever play the Ouija board again, that is for sure. Well, did this open up? There it goes. Hi, I am new to Ouija, but not new to witchcraft and the occult. I have a partner who is more experienced at the Ouija board, and recently we have been walking to a nearby park and communicating with spirits using my Ouija board and their planchette necklace. Side note, I don't know where the necklace they used came from. The first time we used the board together, we contacted a dark spirit who was speaking in gibberish as well as trying to do the figure 8 countdown with the numbers, all signs of demonic presence. Also, this spirit kept trying to launch the planchette off the board. There was immense pressure on the planchette, even though both of us were hardly touching it. Actually, at one point, neither of us had our fingers on it. After that, my partner said goodbye, and we went on to try to contact a different entity. But they don't always let you say goodbye. Unfortunately, it was always the same one. We moved in hopes that we could potentially talk to somebody else. After moving, we made contact with a being who said his name was Thomas, that he was drowned by the Christian church for being gay in 1905. He said that he had a partner named Samuel and was also married to a woman who is called Zoe, who acted on his better half to hide the fact that he was gay. We asked Thomas if he liked Zoe. He said no. Then we asked if Samuel was with him in the afterlife. He said yes, which then promoted us to ask if we could speak to him. The board lost pressure and suddenly, whatever it was, came back. We asked if Samuel was speaking to us, and he said yes. Then we asked him questions, and we asked the spirit if he liked Zoe, to which he quickly moved the planchette to no. I don't remember much else of intrigue from that specific day other than finding the story that was told to us to be almost too detailed to be true. I had a weird gut feeling that we were lied to. A few weeks go by. We use the board again at the same park. At first, we think we are speaking to Thomas and Samuel. However, they inform us that Zoe is also with them. But remember, they don't like Zoe, so why would he be there? We immediately ask if we can speak to Zoe. And she immediately takes over the board. We could feel an energy shift. It was dark and ominous. It didn't feel like the other spirits. We started asking her questions about things, and suddenly she stops making any sense, starts to try to get off the board. We say goodbye to her, but the pressure that was on the board continues to linger. We ask if she is still here, and she says yes. Then we try to say goodbye and ask if we can talk to Thomas or Samuel again. Then the board spells out no. We ask the spirit if we wanted to tell us something, and it kept repeating CO, 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 CO over and over and again and again and again. I asked if Zo or Zozo was her nickname. She said no, and once again kept repeating Zozo, and it kept trying to launch the planchet just like the other spirit we had encountered weeks before. The spirit kept moving towards one of us. We asked if she wanted to possess them. She says no, and then spells out KILLPPL. This entire time I felt very sick, a sinking feeling in my stomach. At one point I even pulled my hands off the planchet out of fear of how strongly it had pulled me into it by the spirit. The movements were rapid, and the chain on my partner's planchet necklace looked as if it was being yanked. We ended the conversation after a few failed tries because the spirit didn't want to leave. I flipped the board over before knocking it on 4 times to cleanse it. Since this happened, I've done a ton of research on Zozo, Zaza, Mama, and lots of things seem to match what we experienced, even down to him pretending to be multiple beings at once to trick us. So what do I do is my question. I've done cleansing rituals, lined my doors, assault everything, and I still feel this presence with me. It lingers with me every single day. It is entirely possible that you need somebody with more spiritual experience. Good luck. That is a tough one. My college Ouija board experience. This will probably be a very long story, but I will never forget it as long as I live. I also, before all this happened, I didn't believe in the paranormal or outside the realm of science until this happened to me. And I think that is true with a lot of people that have occurrences with certain spirits. All of a sudden, they've never had anything happen, then one day they do, and, well, that changes them. My freshman year of college, I moved into a dorm in a very old, historic building in Florida. It was 2020 and COVID was still really bad. Each student had their own room. I quickly made friends with the girl who lived directly next door. Her name was Grace. And a girl on the 3rd floor, her name was Bailey. Only on the first or second night, we got to talking about ghosts and spiritual stuff, as we all realized we were very into the occult and whatnot. The 3rd floor girl, Bailey, suggested that we make and play with a Ouija board. I tried one before at sleepovers, and it never worked. But I was interested, and it was a super old building that was supposed to be haunted. So we gave it a shot. We made the board out of cardboard, and that was the first of many nights of using this thing. This board worked every single time without fail, no matter what combination of people had their hands on the planchet. We eventually got a bought board. No change occurred. We used this board probably every day. It became an obsession. It's all we could talk about. I'm still not sure if it was the thought of speaking to someone in a different life that was otherworldly, and it was exciting, or if something else was going on, that maybe something had hold of us. I could tell so many little stories, but I'll try to sum it up to the important stuff. We all knew it was legit the first night we played. We were poked anyone but them the entire time. We tested by asking the name of another friend we had recently made. Stepmom, it guessed correctly immediately without her having her hands on the board. We had just met her. There was no way we could have known her stepmother's name. On the second or third night, we asked the entity shove, or solo, whatever you want to call them, to give us a sign that they were really there. We heard a noise at the closed door to my room and looked over to see a shadow outside of it, as if someone was standing right outside the door. We opened the door and nobody was there. We closed the door and the shadow was gone. Little things happened over the course of the semester. Things would be moved that I cannot explain. The sink in the bathroom down the hall would turn off and on by itself when nobody was around. After a few weeks of this, things really started to get weird. One night, I was playing the board with Bailey's boyfriend and Grace. Bailey was laying with her head in her boyfriend's lap, not touching the board. Suddenly, she started panicking and hyperventilating. We thought she must be having a random panic attack or something else, but she claimed she was unable to control where her eyes were looking. We went to take her out of the building because she was so flipped out. Her whole body was shaking and trembling, and it was honestly scary. In the lobby, she swore she saw someone out of the corner of her eye, saw that no one was actually there. So we bolted out the front doors, terrified. So her solo or shove or whatever the entity was really seemed to turn on to Bailey for whatever reason. Weakness, darkness, emptiness, I don't really know. On another night, not too long after that one, the three of us original girls were playing the board and Bailey told us her back was really hurting. She asked us to look to see if she had been sunburned on her lower back. This is odd, but she said that's what it felt like. But she had not been out in the sun. There were a ton of fresh scratches on her lower back when we looked. We are terrified at this moment, where she was not leaning up on anything and both her hands were on the board. I can attach a picture of the scratches if anyone is interested. I will look to see if I can download them. Around the time of these events, Bailey started to act really strange. The first months I knew her, she was always very calm and down to earth. But she's been acting extremely short-tempered and possessed and jealous of her boyfriend and of us. Now this is where I'm not sure what to think. Was it a mental health crisis or are nightly activities causing side effects? I'm not sure I'll ever know. But I remember Bailey screaming at me and stomping up the stairs to her room, being shocked at her words. It was so out of character. During a fight with her boyfriend, she ripped her hair out and slammed her head on the floor. Then after a week or so, she was involuntarily institutionalized after telling her therapist that she was going to take her life. This was obviously very upsetting for Grace and me. Then Grace had begun having suicidal thoughts out of the blue. I'm not sure if this started before or after Bailey left, but I noticed them after Bailey left for sure. Then one morning I woke up and checked my phone, and Grace had gone to the hospital earlier that morning because she woke up and couldn't breathe. It ended up being some tonsil issue, I believe, but the timing was weird. Both Grace and Bailey ended up dropping out of college for mental health reasons. I spent the rest of the semester and the 1 year after in that room, but I never had any serious issues. I had a roommate the second semester of that year, and she didn't have any issues either. I played the board every once in a while to show curious friends the ghost this was due to the removal of stress, college work, or being away from the building for good. Was she possessed? Who is this Shove? Solo or so? Was Shove even real, or did we just make him up because we desperately wanted to believe something else was out there? I will probably never get any answers, but I guess at least I have a good story to tell. Okay, one more, and then I'm gonna go mix resin. Mother of the Antichrist. This is 100% true. Believe it or not, it's up to you. In the summer of 2019, I was 19 at the time. I had a lot of shit happen that caused me to become very depressed. My boyfriend broke up with me without telling me why, and shortly after I was assaulted by my so-called friend. Needless to say, I was at a point in my life where I didn't give a shit about anything. My friend asked if I wanted to use a Ouija board with her. I said hell yes. We agreed to go to our local Books-A-Million to buy the board and decided we would split the cost, since it was only $20. My friend, Lily, instantly started having doubts and whether we even should mess with that kind of stuff. Both of us are Christians and were always taught that messing with that stuff was a big mistake. However, I assured her that all would be well and that if it would make her more comfortable, we could buy some protecting incense to burn around the house while we played the game. This did make her feel better, and we proceeded to purchase the board. The main reason Lily wanted to use the board was because her grandmother had passed away. She wanted to see if she could talk to her one last time. I warned her that if her grandmother was in heaven, she most likely would not come through, since I believed the Lord would not allow that. I did support her and agreed to at least try to contact her grandmother. As for my motive, since I was little, I had always felt something or someone wanting to talk to me. So being depressed, as depressed as I was at the time, I was like, screw it, bring on the demons. Not the best attitude to have, I realize this now. I also had vivid dreams where in every one of them I was assaulted by demons and would end up being the mother of the Antichrist. I obviously didn't and still don't take these dreams seriously, but my friend was intrigued to see if anything or anyone would care to explain them to me. Fast forward to her grandmother's house. Lily's grandfather was not there because he was taking physical therapy for his hip. It was just us and the board. I could tell Lily was nervous. A small part of myself was too, but I refused to show it. I was assigned to be the guide person that asked the questions. I placed myself in a comfortable position and opened the board and asked quietly and assertively, "Are there any spirits that would like to speak with us today?" Nothing. The flanger didn't move a muscle, not an inch, not a centimeter. Everything was silent. I asked the same question 4, 5, 6 times before there was movement. As soon as it moved to yes, I asked what their name was. It spelled out some sort of gibberish that I can't remember. Ended up telling us it was one of my cousins that died in a fire. I knew I didn't have any known cousins that had died in a fire, but I played along with the spirit. At some point, the spirit started making a figure 8 across the board and counting down numbers, which I said a stern hell no before saying goodbye, moving to the next session. Zozo. However, this swore up and down that he wasn't, but Zozo was in the room with us. Apparently Zozo wanted to harm us, but Bovo wanted to protect me. Not Lily, me, which I thought was a weird comment. After talking with him more, we learned that he was present in all of my dreams. All of my nightmares that I was assaulted in. He was destined to be the father of said Antichrist and claimed that he was, and is deeply in love with me. Of course, I thought all of this is bullshit. Lily was excited and began asking questions, which I find odd, and very odd at the time. Every time she would ask something, the plan should move to no. Eventually, she gave up and asked if he wanted to talk with only me. I agreed and continued the session. Apparently, there was this whole plan in hell where I was going to be the mother of the Antichrist, according to Bovo. Bovo was in very high ranks when it came to other demons. According to him, he ranked as high and right below Lucifer. All of a sudden, the planet flew to goodbye, and the board stopped all movement after this. Spirit revealed this information. Lily and I agreed to try one more time to contact her grandmother. Of course, it was Bobo again. He said he had revealed too much information and displeased Lucifer, but at the same time, Lucifer wanted me to know some of the knowledge. I'm still completely skeptical at this point. I just shrugged, said whatever. All of a sudden, I could feel something brushing up against my hip and cheeks. The feeling moved down to my breast and caused me to shiver. I yelled out, "Fuck this," and closed the session. Both of us lit lavender incense and walked all around the house saying the Lord's Prayer. After that, it was getting late. We went inside and went to bed. I don't know what made me want to use the board by myself, but the next day I thought it would be a great idea to do so. Lily sat in front of me while I did it alone and watched as the planet moved to spell the name Bobo. After talking for a solid 2 minutes, I got really creeped out and stopped. The feeling was weird inside my body. It wasn't right. None of this was right. Fast forward a few months, I was at my friend Kate's house with my older friend Ashley. My father had burned the board since he found us using it. We all wanted to use it again, so we go to Books A Million again and purchase another board. Lo and behold, after we start using it, Vovo was the only one to come through. He yelled at both of my friends and told them he only wanted to talk to me. He claimed he had been watching me since I was 5 and that everything was planned and was supposed to go down in 2023. He also said that in order to get me pregnant, he was going to either assay me or possess my current boyfriend and do it that way. Nevertheless, this all creeped the hell out of my friends and we stopped using the board altogether. Well, they did. You would think I would have learned by this point, but a couple months ago, I am now 20, I went to my other friend, Amanda's house, and got high with her and her friends. Now, this is probably the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. I encouraged all of us to, quote-unquote, play while we were high. Never do this, please, please, please. I don't remember any of it, if I'm completely honest, but according to Amanda, I was saying random shit, and they contacted Vovo. Vovo refused to let anyone talk and kept spelling my name. However, I was too flipping gone to say or do anything. After an hour of my friends These I made today. I'm gonna put a clear coat over them with you can see the turtle in there and the little beach. My tummy. The beach in there and the little turtle. So what do you think about these Ouija experiences? It's pretty freaking crazy, right? This is why I believe in Ouija boards. I've kept this experience to myself for almost a year now. I want to finally share it. To preface this post, I will say that this experience was the most surreal experience out of all the times I've messed around with a Ouija board. Whenever I merely think of when this all happened, I get teary-eyed. If any of you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer as long as you respect my boundaries. It was November 2017, spending the night at my friend Jason's house with my other friend Ariel. Saturday evening, a sleepover wasn't a rare occurrence for us. My friends and I became deeply interested in the paranormal months prior to this and had messed around with the Ouija board a fair amount of times, but never got far into a session without one of us becoming uncontrollable and wanting to end the session. This one night would be an exception. I, being the owner of the board, on this particular night had forgotten to bring it with me. We made a homemade makeshift board with a whiteboard and shot glasses. We were not sure if our creation would even work, but we tried anyway. All three of us had 2 fingers on the planchet. I was the leader of the session. We circled the board 3 times. Our own little ritual. I asked if anyone would like to communicate with us. At first, we did not get an answer. I asked again, and I asked, "Hello, is there anybody that would like to communicate with us?" Very clearly, calling out into the candlelit darkness. The planchet moves to yes. We all become attentive, and I ask the spirit's name, or the spirit with Rosh on. We asked multiple other questions, which the spirit answered without hesitation. As of now, I'm not entirely comfortable sharing the information that the spirit shared with my friends and I to everybody. The decision may discredit my experience, but I do not want to disrespect the spirit or the family. All I will say is that after the session, my friends and I Googled a few keywords with Roshan shared with us, and we found multiple articles from only a few months prior that gave us exact information that Roshan shared with us as well. The street number, the cause of death, age, and location correlated with every single article we found. Roshan had lived in a completely different state than us. There is no way that any one of us would remember the amount of information the spirit had given to us to fake this experience. This is all surreal to actually see a picture of a human being that had passed and who had contacted us through the board. I feel deep sympathy for Roshan and his entire family. I hope they are all doing alright and that Roshan has been able to move on. This experience is one that I never forget about, and why I will never take the Ouija board as a joke. Believe in it